Wow. Breaking news as interest rates are coming down because the job data that's been reported to us was a lie. The job market out there is even worse than what they were projecting. And now we have 258,000 less jobs. I'm going to show you how this is going to impact the housing market. Now, right here, you see that the Treasury yields tumble after a much weaker than expected July jobs data report. Plus, we have a Fed governor that resigns. Now, you take a look here to the right corner over here, you're seeing that the interest rate, the 30-year mortgage, is falling down toward 6.5%. You see off a cliff, just almost a 1/4% gone. And that is because the 10-year, what correlates the most with the 30-year mortgage, has tumbled because of that jobs data that was reported that was awfully low. Now, this is going to have big implications on the housing market, and inventory is starting to pile up nationwide. Days on market is starting to go higher and higher around the entire United States of America. Houses are just staying on the market much longer. Now, I'm going to show you here what's going on and what you can expect. So Treasury yields tumble after a much weaker than expected July data report, right? Right here, we take a look and you see that not only did the job data was negative, but the new raft of tariffs were implemented by President Donald Trump. And then Jerome Powell, poor guy here, he's saying right before this article came out that the job data was awful. Jerome Powell actually came out and Treasury yields actually rose because Powell signals concerns about tariffs causing inflation. We saw that inflation was creeping back up in the data. I mean, talk about being between a rock and a hard place. And I've been saying this was going to happen. So look, this data, this analysis, you're not going to be able to find anywhere else. Pay attention what's going on here. And this way, you're able to find yourself a real estate agent, whichever market you're in across the United States. I'm going to show you what you can kind of follow and make sure that these things, the real estate agents that you're working with are actually showing you so that you have more data in front of yourself. And when you're interviewing the agent, make sure they're going to be able to provide this for you. So right here, you're seeing these tariffs. And then right here, look at this revision. This is just bunkers, crazy. New job data in June, 14,000, down from the originally reported $147,000. And then in May, it was revised down to 19,000 new jobs from 144,000. And you know that's going to get somebody to get fired. And President Donald Trump said he had ordered the firing of Erica. And that did take place. Trump fires Commissioner of Labor Statistics after weaker than expected job figures data because the stock market was getting slammed. Now, I hate all politicians. I don't trust the Democrats. I don't trust the Republicans. I didn't trust Biden. I don't trust Trump. They're all in it for themselves. Now, right here, if you're firing the commissioner because you're getting weak job data, well, that is actually good if you want lower interest rates, which we know Trump wants. Well, if he fires the person, which he did, and he puts somebody in place that's now scared to give accurate data, let's say they overinflate these numbers. Well, now the Fed is going to be put between a rock and a hard place again, because now the numbers are going to be indicating that everything is fine. And why would you cut the interest rate when you have tariffs that are causing inflation to potentially resume back? Now, right here, you're taking a look and you see that the Deputy Commissioner, William Witowski, will serve as the acting commissioner now because Erica was terminated. She was fired. And right here, you're seeing that 258,000 jobs less created than initially reported. I mean, somebody should get fired because this is just resembling what we saw in August of 2024 under the Biden administration, when out of nowhere we had 818,000 jobs, saying, oh, sorry, in the last 6 months, there was actually 818,000 jobs less created. And now during the Trump administration, we have 258,000 just in 2 months. You're seeing that both administrations are just cooking numbers. Nobody has a clue what they're doing as far as these presidents are concerned. And people need to remember, united we stand, divided we fall. Do not let them divide us. And right here, if you take a look, this is my active local data on my MLS, so for my greater Salt Lake City area. And you take a look at this blue purple line at the top. You see much more elevated inventory than the years past, which means buyers are gaining more and more leverage. And this is the kind of graphs that you want to follow. And this is the information that you want to receive from your real estate agent. That way you're able to assess the standing of the market in the area that you're looking at, that you're interested in, and make sure that they're actually following this and not just trying to fearmonger you, that they actually know what's going on with the data, with the analysis, and are actually providing you this. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, because this kind of information and analysis you won't be able to find anywhere else. So right here, you see that those active listings are much higher than in years past. And right here, the CME tool, this 80% that you see to the left, what this is essentially indicating that the Fed is going to cut rates in September. Now it has skyrocketed to 80% because of the nightmare with the job data that we're having. However, Trump just fired the person who is responsible for producing this data and put somebody in place that's going to be more favorable to Trump and the Trump administration. Now, what kind of implications is this going to have in September? Well, if all of a sudden the numbers are getting cooked in August and September and it's showing that everything is great, it's putting the Fed right back between a rock and a hard place, and Jerome Powell might not do that cut. However, 80%, that's the highest we've had in a very, very long time. That is essentially projecting that that Fed rate cut is going to come, and that job market is not so good. So we're going to do a quick recap here. If we go to the beginning, we know that the Treasury yields tumbled, and that was because July data for the jobs was awful. We had some revisions, which caused the 30-year mortgage to slump down, and we're seeing it just dropping off a cliff here. Now you're seeing that's the 10-year correlates with that 30-year. That's what will help you follow with what's going on with the interest rates. And then we're knowing that there's tariffs being put in place. People are getting fired. Jerome Powell is between a rock and a hard place. He has no idea what to do, because if it wasn't for these tariffs, we would have had at least one, if not two, Fed rate cuts by now. And we're seeing that unemployment right here, unemployment went up to 4.2%. So July, there was only 73,000 jobs created, where we were supposed to have 100,000 plus created. Now, what would the revision numbers be on that if Erica didn't get fired, I believe was her name. So can't even really trust that. Maybe it's even much worse than the 73,000. And so you're seeing that she was fired. Somebody else was put in place, William, to take her place right there. You're seeing that inventory in my local housing market is much elevated year over year. This is happening on a nationwide scale. Make sure you're following with what's happening to your local housing market. And right here, you're seeing that the chance of a Fed rate cut is just around the corner per this graph, because it's an 80.7% chance that they do that. And the other thing to keep in mind is the foreclosure prevention program that was put in place during the COVID pandemic start of 2020 under President Donald Trump. And then the Biden administration, President Biden, abused it for all 4 years, continuing to kick out the foreclosure, kicking these cans down the road. And then Trump got into office, and the first chance he got in April, the mitigation for those foreclosures was supposed to end April 30th. And Trump said, you know what, let's kick that down into September 30th. So you're just seeing both politicians are not letting a true free capitalist market to play out, manipulating it. So when are these going to resume? Is this hard date going to be in the fall? We do know that Moody's was the last one not downgrading the U.S. government credit score. Now the U.S. as a whole has been downgraded. So the amount of that money being printed is going to be less and less. And make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash that like button. Nobody has your back here like Dinko the Realtor.